Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I want to talk about a business people often misunderstood because they only see the saw, the ropes, and the branches falling. They think tree work is just cutting limbs or removing a tree that is in the way. But beneath that surface is a much more serious business model. Arborists and tree surgeons are not just simply outdoor laborers, they are specialists working with living structures that can become very expensive, dangerous, and unpredictable. This presentation is about that hidden business underneath tree work, risk management, technical judgment, and the control intervention when nature and property collide. Most people think that tree work is just very straightforward. They assume it's just trimming, cutting, cleanup, and hauling. They may think any landscaper with a chainsaw can handle it. They may even look at the price and wonder why it costs so much. That is the surface level assumption. But that assumption misses the height, the rigging, the weight, the hazards, the insurance, the property exposure, and the fact that one mistake can damage a roof, hit a fence, take down a power line, or injure someone badly. So, what people call simple cutting is often a very expensive risk problem disguised as yard work. What is really going on is control hazard management. The worker is not simply removing wood, they are evaluating how a tree is leaning, what weight is distributed, how limbs will move when cut, how nearby structures are exposed, and what method will bring the tree or limb down safely. This is part biology, part physics, part execution. A tree is not dead lumber on the ground, it is a living structure with tension, instability, and hidden failure points. That is why the hidden business is not just tree cutting, it is the management of living risk at great heights. This model works beautifully because trees are unusual property features. In calm weather, they may be beautiful assets. In one bad storm, they become serious liabilities. They grow slowly, they decline quietly, and they often become dangerous long before the property owner fully understands the risk. That creates a constant need for assessment, pruning, preservation, and sometimes removal. People pay because the cost of waiting can be higher than the cost of action. In other words, this business works because tree risk is real, delayed, and often underestimated until the danger becomes obvious. Landscaping is usually about appearance, routine upkeep, and visible order. Tree work can overlap with landscaping, but it is not the same economic model. Lawn care manages growth close to the ground. Arborists and tree surgeons manage vertical growth, structural stress, and the risk that comes from size, age, and location. That means tree work is less about aesthetics alone and more about judgment, safety, and protection. A landscaper may make a property look better, an arborist may keep that property from suffering major damage. Let us separate two distinct roles. An arborist is usually more focused on tree health, diagnostic, preservation, pruning, strategy, and long term care. A tree surgeon is more associated with difficult intervention, hazardous cutting, dismantling, and technically demanding removal. There is overlap, but the emphasis is different. One side leans more towards stewardship, the other leans more towards surgical action. That distinction matters because customers often lump them together, but the business value changes depending on whether the problem is health, maintenance, or danger. The customer journey in this lane usually begins with concern. Maybe a limb is hanging over the roof. Maybe the tree is leaning after the storm. Maybe there is visible decay, root damage, or a neighbor complaint. The owner may not know exactly what is wrong, but they know the situation feels very risky. Then the company inspects, explains the condition, recommends a course of action, and the customer decides whether to prune it, preserve it, or remove. If the provider does the job well, that one emergency or concern can become a long-term relationship for inspections, maintenance, and future tree care. So the journey is not just quote the cut, it is concern to diagnosis to control action. The business model canvas shows the actual business underneath the ropes and rigging equipment. The customer segment includes homeowners, your HOAs, your landlords, your realtors, your municipalities, and commercial properties. The value proposition is hazard reduction, tree health, property protection, and emergency response. The channels include referrals, storm demand, local search, and visible reputation. Your revenue comes from pruning, removal, stumps, stump work, consultation, maintenance, and urgent jobs. The key resources are trained crews, your insurance, your rigging systems, your saws, your trucks, your lifts, and judgment. Your key activities are diagnostic, climbing, rigging, cutting, removal, cleanup, and safety planning. What the business canvas reveals is that tree work is a specialized risk innovation business, not just an outdoor labor service. Your strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat now show why the business is both valuable and exposed. Its strengths include specialized skill, high value service when risk is obvious, and separation from ordinary lawn care competition. Its weaknesses includes danger, heavy insurance costs, very expensive equipment, weather delays, and customer resistance to pricing. Its opportunities include long-term care plans, storm preparation services, municipal work, and positioning as tree health experts rather than just cutters. Its threats include accidents, low cost, underinsured competitors, your equipment failure, delayed customer action, and reputational damage from one bad outcome. So, the same danger that creates demand also creates the business exposure. The final takeaway is that arborists and tree surgeons do much more than remove branches or cut down trees. They are paid to manage living structures whose failure can create injury, property damage, legal exposure, and major loss. That is what makes this such a strong hidden business model. The visible service is cutting, the hidden business is risk management, technical judgment, and control intervention under conditions most properties owners cannot handle safely themselves. So, the final question is this: when someone pays for tree work, are they paying for labor or are they really paying to prevent a much larger disaster? Thank you.